The night was quiet, too quiet for Brad Walker's liking. Slow nights made him restless. No action, no arrests, just endless hours of waiting. But then movement caught his eye. A black man, tall, well-dressed, walking toward a sleek black BMW parked under a street lamp. Confident, unbothered, like he owned the world. Brad sat up, instincts kicking in. Luxury car. Black guy. Late at night. Something didn't add up. He grabbed his radio. Dispatch, possible vehicle theft in progress. Suspect approaching a black BMW on Brookhaven Drive. Before getting a response, Brad was already stepping out of his patrol car. Hey! Step away from the vehicle. The man paused mid-step, turning slowly. His face was unreadable, calm, almost amused. Excuse me. Brad took a few steps closer, hand hovering near his holster. I said step away from the car. Right now. The man didn't move. He just sighed as if he'd seen this scene play out too many times before. And why exactly? Brad's jaw tightened. He didn't like being questioned. Because I said so. You got a problem with that? The man raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. He took a deliberate step back, hands visible at his sides. Happy now? Brad didn't answer. He was already sizing the guy up. Clean suit, polished shoes, not the usual look for a car thief. But that didn't mean anything. What's your business with this vehicle? It's mine. Brad let out a sharp laugh. Yeah? You got proof. The man exhaled, reaching into his pocket. Wallet's in my jacket. I'm moving slow, all right. Brad tensed, ready for anything, but the man kept his movements controlled. He pulled out a leather wallet and flipped it open, holding out his ID. Brad snatched it. Elijah Carter. The name meant nothing to him. His eyes flicked to the address. Local. Still, something felt off. Registration? The man gestured to the car. In the glove box. Brad hesitated, debating whether to let him retrieve it. Finally, he jerked his chin toward the vehicle. Get it. Slowly. The man obeyed, opening the door and leaning inside. Brad's fingers twitched over his holster. The moment stretched. A few people on the sidewalk had stopped to watch. Across the street, someone had their phone out. The man re-emerged, holding a folded paper. Here. Brad snatched it, scanning the details. The name matched. The VIN matched. The car was his. But Brad wasn't satisfied. Step away from the car. The man's expression shifted. For what? Just do it. The air grew heavier. The crowd had grown larger, people whispering. Officer, I've given you my ID and registration. I have no reason to step away from my own car. Brad's patience snapped. Turn around. Hands behind your back. A beat of silence. Then a short, sharp laugh. Not amused. Are you serious? Brad stepped closer, voice low and firm. Do it now. The man shook his head. Unbelievable. Brad grabbed his wrist. Hard. The man stiffened but didn't resist. He just let out a slow breath. You're making a mistake, officer. Brad ignored him, yanking his other arm behind his back, reaching for his cuffs. Then, voices erupted from the crowd. He didn't do anything. That's his car, man. Let him go. Phones were out, cameras rolling. But Brad didn't care. Stay out of this, he barked at the bystanders. The man in his grip didn't fight, didn't struggle. But the way he stood, the way he held himself, sent a shiver down Brad's spine. Like he wasn't worried at all. Like he already knew how this would end. The crowd wasn't just watching anymore. They were talking, whispering, recording. Brad could feel the weight of their eyes, their judgment. But he wasn't about to back down. The black man in front of him, Elijah, or whatever his name was, stood there like he had nothing to prove. Like he belonged here. Like he wasn't out of place driving a car like that. Brad wasn't buying it. He had seen this play out before. Nice car, expensive suit, but something was off. And then the look Elijah gave him. That steady, unbothered gaze. Like he had seen this scene play out before too. Brad's grip tightened. He hated that look. I told you to step away from the vehicle. And I told you it's mine. Brad's patience snapped. Turn around. Hands behind your back. Elijah exhaled sharply, looking away for a second like he was collecting himself. Then he met Brad's eyes again, voice edged with disbelief. Are you really doing this? After I showed you my ID? My registration? Brad's fingers twitched near his holster. I don't have to explain myself to you. Turn around. The crowd stirred. Someone spoke up. Yo, officer, he already showed you the papers. Another voice. Man, this is some racist bull. Brad ignored them. He was focused on Elijah. Why wasn't this guy scared? Elijah inhaled, slow and controlled. Then, without another word, he turned around and placed his hands behind his back. Brad didn't waste a second. He grabbed his wrists, yanked them hard, snapping on the cuffs with more force than necessary. Elijah barely reacted, but the crowd did. Whoa, you don't gotta do all that. He ain't even resisting. Somebody record this. Phones were already out, cameras rolling, but Brad didn't care. Move. Elijah didn't struggle, but he didn't rush either. He let himself be led toward the squad car with the calmness of a man who had seen this too many times before. That made Brad even angrier. He shoved Elijah toward the car. Hard. Too hard. Elijah's body lurched forward, slamming into the side of the vehicle. The crowd exploded. Oh hell no. He just slammed him. This is straight-up police brutality. That's assault, man. Brad barely heard them. He was breathing fast, chest tight. Elijah stayed still against the car, his head lowered for a moment. Then he lifted it, slowly turning to look at Brad over his shoulder. Not angry. Not scared. Just tired. You're making a mistake, officer. Brad didn't respond. He grabbed for the car door handle, ready to shove Elijah inside. Then flashing blue lights flooded the street. Another patrol car screeched to a stop. The door swung open and Captain Rodriguez stepped out. Brad's stomach dropped. The captain's eyes landed on him first, then on Elijah, cuffed, pressed against the car, surrounded by a crowd with their phones out. His face darkened. The street went dead silent. Rodriguez took a slow step forward. Then another. When he spoke, his voice was low and sharp. Walker. Let him go. Brad's fingers went stiff. His pulse hammered. No. No. What was happening? Why was the captain here? The crowd shifted, sensing something big was about to happen. Brad swallowed hard. Sir, Aya? Rodriguez's eyes burned into him. Now. Elijah? He just smirked. Like he had been waiting for this exact moment. Brad's grip tightened on his belt as Captain Rodriguez stepped closer, his expression unreadable. The flashing blue lights from the newly arrived patrol car painted the street in an eerie glow, making the watching crowd look even larger. Elijah stood beside the squad car, wrists still cuffed, his face calm. Too calm. Rodriguez's voice was firm but controlled. Walker, take off the cuffs. Brad hesitated. Sir, Aya? Now. The order cut through the air like a blade. The crowd leaned in, sensing the shift. Phones were still recording. Some were whispering. Others just watched. Brad's jaw clenched, but he reached for the cuffs anyway. With a quick motion, he unlocked them. Elijah rolled his shoulders, rubbing his wrists where the metal had pressed deep into his skin. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Rodriguez turned to him. You all right? Elijah exhaled, stretching his fingers. Been through worse. The way he said it made Brad's stomach tighten. Rodriguez's gaze flicked back to Brad. What exactly was the charge? Brad swallowed. His mind scrambled for an answer that would hold up. He was acting suspicious, sir. Rodriguez's expression didn't change. Suspicious how? Brad hesitated. He felt the weight of the crowd's eyes. Of the cameras. Of Elijah's steady, knowing stare. Rodriguez let the silence stretch before shaking his head. We'll talk later. Then he turned to Elijah. You're free to go. Elijah nodded but didn't move right away. He glanced at Brad, just a quick, unreadable look before stepping toward his car. The moment should have been over. But something about the way Elijah carried himself, the way Rodriguez had arrived so quickly, so deliberately made Brad's stomach twist. Something was off. And the way Rodriguez looked at him one last time before walking away? It told Brad this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Brad sat in the patrol car, gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. The street was quiet now. The crowd had dispersed, but the tension in the air hadn't. Captain Rodriguez had barely spoken after ordering him to release Elijah. Just a simple, we'll talk at the station. And that was worse than yelling. Brad exhaled sharply, his jaw clenching as he turned onto the main road. What was he supposed to do? Let some guy walk away just because he acted confident? Because he dressed the part? That car, that whole look, it didn't add up. He still felt it in his gut. He pulled into the station parking lot, his mind racing. Maybe Rodriguez had just been putting on a show for the crowd. Maybe behind closed doors, he'd back Brad up. He stepped inside, the fluorescent lights making the whole place feel colder than usual. Officers milled about, some giving him quick glances before looking away. Rodriguez was waiting in his office, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Brad shut the door behind him. Captain, look, Rodriguez held up a hand. Stop. Brad's mouth snapped shut. The captain leaned against his desk, exhaling through his nose like he was trying to hold something back. Do you have any idea who that man was? Something about the way he said it made Brad's stomach drop. Rodriguez didn't wait for an answer. He grabbed a file from his desk and tossed it onto the surface between them. Brad glanced down, then froze. The photo clip to the report was Elijah. Same suit, same confident stare. But under his name, in bold letters, Chief Inspector Elijah Carter, Internal Affairs Division. Brad's breath hitched. He could feel his pulse in his throat. Rodriguez's voice was quiet but sharp. He's been working undercover, Walker. And you just cuffed him in front of half the city. Brad's head spun. No, that wasn't possible. But it was right there in black and white. Rodriguez crossed his arms, watching him. You have no idea how bad you just screwed up. Brad swallowed hard. Because for the first time all night, the reality of what he'd done finally started to sink in. Brad sat stiffly in the chair across from Captain Rodriguez, his mind racing. The words on the file still burned in his brain. Chief Inspector Elijah Carter. Internal Affairs. Everything about the past hour, the cuffs, the shove, the accusation, came crashing down on him with sickening weight. Rodriguez didn't sit. He just stood there, arms crossed, staring at Brad like he was trying to decide if he was worth his time. You still don't get it, do you? Brad's throat was dry. Sir, Save it. Rodriguez shook his head. This isn't just a bad arrest, Walker. You put hands on an IA officer. You profiled him, ignored his proof of ownership, and then publicly humiliated yourself by doubling down when you should have backed off. Brad swallowed, his jaw tightening. I wasn't. Stop. Rodriguez's voice was calm, but the authority in it shut Brad up instantly. I don't want excuses. I want to know if you understand how badly you just screwed yourself. Brad looked away, his pulse pounding in his ears. He had made bad calls before, but never like this. Rodriguez sighed, rubbing his temples. You're lucky Carter didn't escalate this right there. He had every right to. The words stung. Carter could have had him fired on the spot. He could have pressed charges. And yet he didn't. Instead, he had walked away, cool and collected, like he had seen this all before. Like he had expected it. Rodriguez grabbed the file and tossed it onto the desk in front of Brad. Internal Affairs will want a full report. Carter will be in touch. Brad stiffened. What does that mean? Rodriguez let out a dry laugh. It means that for now your badge isn't gone. But depending on how Carter plays this, that could change real fast. Brad exhaled, running a hand through his hair. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Brad sat frozen in the captain's office. His eyes locked on the file in front of him. The name Chief Inspector Elijah Carter stared back at him like a death sentence. His throat went dry, and for the first time that night, a sinking feeling gripped his chest. Rodriguez didn't say anything at first. He just let the weight of the revelation settle. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he leaned forward, his voice cold and deliberate. You know what's coming, don't you? Brad swallowed hard, his mind racing. Deny? Defend? Apologize? Sir, Rodriguez slammed a hand down on the desk, making Brad flinch. Don't even try it, Walker. You assaulted a high-ranking officer. You racially profiled him. You shoved him into a squad car on camera. And you still think you have an excuse. Brad's heart pounded. I didn't know who he was. Rodriguez's eyes darkened. That's the damn point. If he weren't the chief inspector, would you have cared? The question hit like a gut punch. Brad's mouth opened, but no words came out. Rodriguez sighed and leaned back, shaking his head. You're done, Walker. Internal Affairs is already reviewing the footage. The mayor's office has been notified. The department's scrambling to control this mess before it blows up in the media. Brad clenched his fists. This is a setup. Rodriguez narrowed his eyes. A setup? You think someone forced you to racially profile him? Forced you to manhandle him in front of half the city? He scoffed. You did this to yourself. Brad's breathing was heavy. His pulse pounded in his ears. Sir, You're suspended. Rodriguez cut him off. Indefinitely. The words knocked the air from Brad's lungs. Rodriguez stood, his expression final. Turn in your badge and gun. Brad felt his whole world tilt. His hands trembled as he reached for the badge pinned to his chest. Slowly, he unfastened it and placed it on the desk. Then his gun. The weight of both items leaving his possession felt devastating. Rodriguez exhaled, rubbing his temples. Get out of my office. Brad hesitated, his pride and rage warring inside him. But he knew better than to argue. He turned on his heel and walked out. And that's when he saw him, Elijah Carter, standing at the far end of the hallway watching him. The same calm expression, the same unbothered stance. Brad's blood boiled, but he kept walking. He had nothing left to say. As he passed, Elijah's voice cut through the silence. Enjoy your time off, Officer Walker. Brad didn't look back. He just kept walking, but deep down he knew. His career, it was over. By morning, the news had spread like wildfire. Every major network ran the footage. Rogue officer assaults chief inspector in racially motivated arrest. The video had gone viral. Brad watched it all unfold from his small apartment. His fists clenched, his career in ruins. Phone calls from fellow officers stopped coming. His so-called brothers in blue had abandoned him. Even the police union refused to defend him. While Brad spiraled, Elijah Carter went back to work, stronger than ever. His message was clear. This wasn't just about him. It was about all the black men harassed, arrested, and beaten by officers like Brad Walker. His speech at the press conference went viral. This isn't just about one incident. It's about a broken system, and we're going to fix it. He wasn't just another victim of police brutality. He was the man who took down a corrupt cop. And for the first time in a long time, the system actually worked.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.